In 1932, amidst a turbulent era, a squad of 8 French explorers found themselves in the heart of Patagonia, Argentina. In search of respite one evening, they stumbled upon an ominous secret. Among them was a daring woman named Camille Lefèvre, who later shared her experiences with the world. However, her account remained hidden for nearly 8 decades, only surfacing in the past 25 years. The file bore the title Voyage Obscur, translated as Dark Expedition. This is her story, retold in modern English. The details are hazy, but it was referred to as the enigma of darkness. Our presence in the region was unwise due to the looming conflict. Taking a wrong turn on our descent from the Andes, exhaustion, chill, and hunger forced our hand. We faced a dilemma: finding refuge for the night and sustenance near the city without alerting the adversary. Silently, under the shroud of night, we traversed the outskirts of the town of Eldorada in the Patagonian expanse. Advancing cautiously along the fringes of the woods, we encountered a time-worn cemetery, housing imposing mausoleums. Huddled beside the cemetery's enclosure, our leader, Captain Amélie Durand, turned to us and murmured, "Perhaps within these crypts we shall find shelter and warmth, concealed from prying eyes." The men exchanged uneasy glances, their silence speaking volumes. Familiar with these comrades, I recognized their reluctance to seek refuge within a crypt, a sentiment I shared. In the face of persistent mortality, our circumstances seemed to grant no alternative. The mountainous terrain had wearied us extensively after a day's trek, and danger from the opposition loomed large. The fence enclosing the cemetery stood at a height of 6 feet. One by one, we scaled it, keeping watch as our companions followed. Overcoming this obstacle, we cautiously approached the nearest mausoleum. The crypt's silhouette grew clearer as we approached, eerie demon statues adorning each corner. The monumental double doors bore the cryptic words "accept and explore" etched into their surface. Devoid of Romanian proficiency, we dismissed the inscriptions as irrelevant. Lieutenant Dubois tested the doorknob, confirming our suspicions. The doors were secured by a formidable chain. The act reeked of intent to bar passage. An apprehensive murmur passed through our ranks, one voice whispering, "This doesn't bode well. Let's seek refuge elsewhere." The commanding officer's response remained unwavering. "Where do you suggest we find refuge? Fatigue plagues us, and the risk of discovery looms. Lieutenant Dubois, employ any means necessary to access the crypt, but do so quickly and covertly." Affirming the order, Lieutenant Dubois nodded and initiated the delicate process of removing the hinge pins using her bayonet. With precision, she skillfully detached the door from its frame, unleashing a rush of warmth accompanied by a disconcerting scent. The air bore an unfamiliar tang. As the entrance expanded, none hesitated to enter. A collective resolve propelled us forward. With my flashlight in hand, I led the way into the crypt, illuminating its interior. The darkness seemed to cling, stirring an unsettling unease within. In the midst of my survey, I spotted a descending staircase to the left, leading to another chamber. A subdued murmur of uncertainty murmured behind me, the words, "This is not our place," barely audible. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Dubois sealed the crypt behind her. Captain Léonie Dupont directed us to assess our rations and find rest. Evaluating my diminishing supplies, I settled on the cold stone floor, employing my pack as an improvised pillow, surrendering to sleep's embrace. A distant voice roused me from slumber, summoning all to assemble at its origin. Springing to attention, I observed my comrades converging toward the descending stairs. Equipping my flashlight, I joined the procession, an ominous apprehension gripping my senses as we descended. Turning the corner, we congregated around a substantial casket. Taking my place among them, I beheld the partially opened lid, revealing an eerie sight. Gazing in silence, I confronted a woman with a spectral appearance. While corpses within coffins were to be anticipated, her countenance defied the usual signs of decay. Her visage, untouched by the passage of time, sent shivers down our spines. An air of captivation hung over us, broken only by Captain Dupint's voice, leaden with suspicion. Something is a worry. This visage bears no mark of the years. Seal the casket and return to the surface. I forbid any further ventures within. Is that understood? In a silence heavy with apprehension, we secured the coffin with a hefty stone slab, our collective gestures affirming our understanding. Laden with muted anxiety, we retraced our steps up the stairwell. Fear's palpable presence underscored our determination to escape this place. Amidst the group's contemplative silence, Lieutenant Claire Dubois responded resolutely. "Where can we find refuge then? We're worn out, and discovery is far too perilous. Captain Durand, permit me to employ unconventional means to access the crypt. I shall do so discreetly and expediently." Assured of Lieutenant Dubois' resourcefulness, Captain Amélie Durand nodded, setting the plan in motion. Swiftly, Dubois utilized her bayonet to extract the hinge pins, facilitating the gentle separation of the crypt door. A rush of warmth enveloped us, tainted by an unfamiliar scent. The air held an eerie quality. As the entrance expanded, hesitancy gripped the group momentarily, swiftly broken by Captain Durand's directive, "Enter all of you without delay." Obliging, I took the lead, illuminating the crypt's interior with my flashlight. Shadows danced menacingly in the corners of the room, amplifying our sense of unease. Within the room, I discerned a descending staircase on the left, leading to an obscure chamber below. A faint murmur of dissent emerged behind me, someone whispering, "This venture is ill-fated." Concurrently, Lieutenant Dubois secured the crypt entrance. Captain Durand advised us to assess our provisions and rest. Surveying my dwindling supplies, I found solace on the frigid stone floor, using my pack as an improvised pillow, succumbing to slumber. A distant cry abruptly roused me from my slumber, compelling the group's assembly. Hastening to the source, I joined my comrades as they converged around the stairwell leading downward. Gripping my flashlight, I descended, a disquieting aura enveloping me. Navigating the corridor, we reached a room where all eyes were drawn to a substantial coffin. I positioned myself beside my companions, and upon observing the partially ajar lid, I unveiled the disturbing sight within. Aghast, I beheld the countenance of an elderly, grotesque woman. While exposure to cadavers within coffins was routine, this woman's appearance defied the passage of time. Her features, untouched by decay, sent shivers down our spines. We stood in contemplative silence, our collective reverie interrupted by Captain Durand's declaration. "Something is awry. This face belies the march of years. Seal the casket and return to higher ground. I forbid further exploration. Is that understood?" In unanimous agreement, we secured the coffin with a ponderous stone lid, our solemn nods affirming comprehension. As we made our way up the staircase, an air of apprehension clung to us. Fear, palpable and pervasive, propelled our exit from this enigmatic realm. After ascending the stairs, Captain Durand issued a stern order. "None shall return to that chamber. Rest is imperative. We shall rise before dawn to retrace our path through the mountains and pinpoint our misdirection." In unanimous accord, we responded, "Understood, Captain." Before reclining on our packs, cold stone against my back, I battled the surge of fear and adrenaline that coursed through me. Though I longed to flee, that option remained unviable. The cold embrace of slumber engulfed me once more. Abruptly, a cacophony of screams shattered the stillness, emanating from the depths of the chamber below. Jolted awake, we sprang to our feet. Captain Durand demanded, "Who was that? Who's absent?" Scanning our ranks, I discerned that First Lieutenant Claire Dubois was conspicuously absent. Captain Durand ordered Heinrich and me to descend and investigate. A shared glance between us conveyed our mutual reluctance, though the imperative left us no choice. Equipped with our flashlights, Heinrich and I commenced the descent down the dim stairwell. As I led the way, my heart raced uncontrollably, my limbs quivering. The flashlight's beam trembled along the walls as I navigated each step, my heartbeat resounding in my ears. Arriving at the foot of the stairs, I steeled myself before rounding the corner. Internal pep talks did little to quell my apprehension. Turning the corner, flashlight in hand, I was met with... The crypt's stone floor bore the remains of First Lieutenant Claire Dubois' uniform, shredded beyond recognition. Alarmed, I called out to Captain Durand. "He's absent, only his uniform remains. Convene down here at once." The group descended with haste, halted in their tracks by the grim sight. One among us questioned, "Where is First Lieutenant Dubois? Is that truly his uniform? It's as though it's been torn apart." Captain Durand then instructed me to circumvent the coffin and ensure he wasn't concealed beyond sight. The available hiding spots were scarce. Retrieving First Lieutenant Dubois' uniform was added to my directive. Summoning courage, I maneuvered around the coffin, my flashlight casting nervous beams around the chamber. In a sea of darkness illuminated only by our flashlights, my anxiety escalated, and I carried out the task with haste, eager to leave this sinister chamber behind. As I approached First Lieutenant Dubois' uniform, I scrutinized it before picking it up. Remarkably, there was no trace of blood, not even a solitary drop. As I extended my hand to retrieve it, a nightmarish torrent of imagery depicting the gruesome demise of First Lieutenant Dubois flooded my mind. The grotesque visions compelled me to drop the uniform and recoil. Captain Durand inquired, "What's the matter? Proceed. Let's continue." Silently, I collected myself, drawing a deep breath before once again taking hold of what remained of First Lieutenant Dubois' uniform. Stepping toward the men assembled at the base of the stairwell, I handed the uniform to Captain Durand. He scrutinized it closely, affirming, "This undoubtedly belongs to him, yet its scent is unusual, unlike any I've encountered." After a moment of contemplation, he shared an unexpected pronouncement, surprising us all. "Gentlemen, return upstairs. We're departing this place immediately." Swiftly responding to Captain Durand's command, we ascended the stairs, retrieving our belongings with haste. I seized my rifle pack and positioned myself at the door. I exerted a gentle push at first, aiming for silence, yet the door remained immovable. I whispered loudly to Captain Durand, who was recovering his rifle, informing him of the door's resistance. Heinrich was summoned to assist, given his strength and stature. Heinrich and I pooled our efforts, straining against the door, yet it remained steadfast. A collective endeavor ensued, men uniting in their attempts, yet the door yielded not an inch. Frustration and apprehension permeated the air. Breaking from our efforts, we exchanged apprehensive glances. Captain Durand, clutching his rifle, mirrored our distress. Just as I was about to inquire about our next course of action, the flashlights abruptly extinguished. A gut-wrenching scream emanated from below, swiftly followed by the discharge of rifle shots. Panic ensued, voices demanding answers amidst the chaos. Amidst the disarray, someone cried, "Who was that?" A desperate plea arose. "We must flee this place." The chamber plunged into silence, my own heartbeat echoing loudly in my ears. Before speech could resume, another spine-chilling scream pierced the air from below. A whisper broke through the tension, pronouncing a grim realization. This is the creeping death. Our fate is sealed. Fear surged through me, causing my body to tremble and sweat to bead on my forehead. My knees wavered, and I leaned against Captain Durand for support, his presence a frail anchor in this maelstrom of dread. In a tremulous tone, I implored, "Captain, what shall we do? Escape is imperative." A numb silence was his response. Another man's voice emerged. "Let's persist in opening the door. It's our passage to safety. We must escape this abyss." Despite trembling hands and a racing heart, I fumbled in the darkness, seeking the door's familiarity. At last, I located it and exerted all my strength to push it open, a futile effort. Joined by others, we strained against the unyielding barrier, yet our combined force was ineffectual. Standing in the midst of our collective exhaustion, our respite was short-lived as an unsettling noise reverberated through the chamber. Amid the disorienting darkness, a fellow soldier's grunts pierced the air, swiftly followed by anguished screams emanating from the depths. The horrific realization dawned upon me. Something had seized him, yanking him into the abyss below. Shock overcame me, a surreal detachment settling in as if this couldn't be reality. My senses distorted, ears ringing, I felt as though I had dissociated from my own body. The implausible notion that this was occurring enveloped me, only to be shattered by the relentless cycle of movement, grunts, and screams echoing through the void. Gradually, it became apparent that I stood alone, the sole survivor amid this nightmare. Paralyzed by fear, I remained immobilized until a sudden force hoisted me into the air, crashing me against the crypt's wall with a ferocity I'd never encountered. The impact was enough to send me plummeting to the cold stone floor. Lying there, I could only watch as the crypt's door creaked open, admitting the sun's light. A figure materialized before me, a woman, the same woman from the coffin. Her gaze fixed upon me, her smile malicious, a malevolent embodiment. In her hand, she held Captain Duran's severed head, a macabre trophy. Then, as abruptly as she appeared, she vanished. In the aftermath, when Elena Schmidt was questioned about why she alone survived, she responded with uncertainty, "I don't know." Inquiry shifted to the fate of her comrades, their gruesome demise at the hands of the woman from the coffin. Her response was chillingly succinct. "She consumed them. Their shredded uniforms and scattered equipment are the only remnants." The file's concluding paragraph noted the patrol of Eldorada's endeavor to verify Schmidt's account, which yielded discovery of the shredded uniforms and fragments of equipment consistent with her description. The crypt doors bore the ominous words Octosol and Darcy's, cautioning against entry in Romanian. Engaging the townspeople, a local elder revealed that the crypt had harbored a Mima Pajori for over a century, now unshackled upon the world.